Welcome to Speed in Color, a podcast and YouTube channel about custom motorcycle culture. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to get all the latest content. You can also follow Speed in Color on Instagram. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hi there, how you doing? Hey, welcome to another episode of Speed and Color. Today, some updates. Got some, as Rhino says, some housekeeping to do. Want to bring you up to date on a few things. We're going to do a follow-up on the Sportster, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. Also want to do a follow-up on the MultiTool Grinder. Learn some things that I want to share with you and clarify for you. So we're going to get into all of that. What I'm going to do too, I'm going to break this episode into chapters. I'm going to start off here. What I want to update on initially is upcoming shows and stuff. I mean, hey, riding season's here finally. We're going to be getting out. There's lots of things going on. June is always a super busy month, so I want to go over some of the things that are happening there. Maybe you're not interested in hearing my spin on shows or local shows. That's fine. You'll be able to jump ahead to the next chapter if you just look down at the time bar at the bottom of the video here. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Let's jump right into it with the Bad Livin Roadshow. Bad Livin Roadshow, and I'm just going to use the notes on my phone here. Bad Livin Roadshow is coming up July 18th to 20th, again in Durham, Ontario, at the Pioneer Ghost Town. Great setting, lots of camping, tons and tons of camping. Super event. The organizer, Lee Sipes, wonderful guy, excellent stuff. So that show, boy, if you're anywhere near southwestern Ontario, that's one that you got to take in, but it's worth traveling to as well. I guess I could do an update. A while ago, I said that, Karen had kind of challenged me to get the Yamaha ready to go to the Bad Livin Roadshow, and I thought I could do it, and Alfred and I have been pounding away and trying to get it done. And we've done really well with it. At this point, I got to be honest, I don't think the Yamaha is going to make the Bad Livin Roadshow. Life happens. We had some serious hail damage here late last summer. I've been trying to deal with that. I've been trying to deal with work, and work hasn't. Work's been good. There's been lots going on. It's been good that way. But I haven't really been able to take any breaks from work or any extended breaks. Vacation is limited. Anyway, it all adds up to I just don't think I'm going to be able to get it totally done. The clock is ticking. And I don't want to cut corners. I don't want to do a bad job on it. I'm so happy with the way it's coming along that I want to make sure we get it right. So I don't think we're going to be taking the XS650 down to the Bad Livin Roadshow. However, I believe Karen and I are going to go anyway. We're going to record a couple episodes of Speed and Color. We'll go back and see everybody and get caught up with everybody and stuff, and should be tons of fun. We just won't have a bike with us this year, and unfortunately, there's no time to drive down this year. I would take the Sportster again, put the other tins on it, take it down, different bike, so to speak. But again, that's 3 days of driving, 6 days in total plus your days there. I just don't have that kind of time off work to be able to do that. So there's good news on the horizon about that. Let's just say that next summer is going to be a totally different deal for Bruce. Bruce is going to be in control of the time next summer, and I'll leave it at that for now. So the XS650 most likely is not going to make the Bad Livin Roadshow, but Karen and I will. The other super cool thing about the Bad Livin Roadshow is that Luciano Capasso, Luciano, I should have found out how to pronounce your last name. I apologize, buddy. Luciano's what would he be, like a videographer? He was at the Bad Livin Roadshow last year and captured a whole bunch of the show, talked to people, did interviews. Guy's fantastic. Never runs out of energy. Oh my goodness, that guy is just going all the time. Luciano Capasso Productions, LCP, Luciano's put together a documentary on the Bad Livin Roadshow. The trailer looks fantastic. Drone footage, all kinds of stuff. I think it's going to be absolutely wonderful. Apparently the video, from what I'm seeing, drops on June 8th. So if you're at all interested in quality motorcycle video productions, that's one that you're going to want to check out. I would just search, I don't know what the title is. I'm going to assume the title has Bad Livin Roadshow in it. So that's what I would search. I found the trailer on Luciano's YouTube. It's been on Instagram. I'll see if I can post it myself here. I had shared it on my stories, but I'll see if I can do a post. Maybe I can get a hold of them and see what we can do there. But yeah, it looks really, really good. So excited about that. I'm excited for Lee for this year's show. Hoping we're going to see a huge turnout. The show is worth it, and Lee deserves it, and everybody who works with him. So that'll be really, really cool. That is the first show that I wanted to mention to you. Local shows kind of get going here in June, and we start with Two Wheel Sunday on June 1st. So for anybody in the Calgary area, anybody in Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, and I mean anywhere else, but obviously it's easier to get here from those places. Two Wheel Sunday, great show. I mean, one of those shows, it's so cool, real grassroots. It started off modestly. Bobby Baum's been putting it together for years. And it started off as an idea, hey, we should get a bunch of bikes together. And it's grown and grown. It is in a really nice setting in Calgary. The street gets closed off, which is really cool, because then there's only motorcycle traffic on it, and foot traffic, of course, for the show. But most of the street has a really nice green space all along that side of the street, and there's a little creek over there and stuff. So the vendors get set up on the grass, and there's grass to walk on, and you can lay down and cool off and do stuff like that. Just a really, really good setting. You come and go as you please. There's no restrictions of once you're in, you have to stay parked until whenever. It's a come and go kind of deal. Gets huge, for Calgary, gets huge turnout. Lots and lots of bikes. And lots of vendors, good time, early in the year. Yeah. It's a good deal all the way around. So Two Wheel Sunday, June 1st, I believe gates open or the street opens at like 10. And the show goes 10 until 4 in the afternoon, something like that. So a really good show to attend. There'll be lots of stuff out there this year. They're doing an FXR show as part of it. There's always a show and shine, but this year there's an FXR deal, which those are becoming pretty popular, pretty common, pretty popular. So there'll be the FXR deal. I don't know what else Bobby's got lined up for features, for special things. I know I'm going to be helping out with the Vintage Japanese Motorcycle Club. So VJMC members will have a bunch of bikes there, but I mean, there'll be so much more. There's just And it's all styles of bikes. Everything is welcome. It is a celebration of two wheels. So that's on June 1st in Calgary. The other show that Karen and I are really excited about is Friday the 13th at Port Dover. That is June 13th. June was, the month is always, variable, but it is always on the 13th. And if you don't know anything about Friday the 13th, very cool story. A small group of guys, I believe it was 5 guys originally, were talking that they should get together. They should ride their motorcycles to a location, get together for a beverage. They decided on Port Dover, and they wound up going on Friday the 13th. And from there, it just took off. And motorcycles in Ontario, Friday the 13th, and that's the cool thing. Doesn't matter when it happens. Doesn't matter what month it happens, what time of year. Friday the 13th, motorcycles go to Port Dover. Port Dover is one of the most southern points in Canada. So the weather is not terrible any time of the year. Summers are beautiful. It's right on, which lake is that? Lake Erie, I believe. So there's a beach there. There's lots of accommodation, but boy, it gets snapped up quick. I mean, this event gets huge bike counts, lots of people. The whole town gets closed off for Friday the 13th. No four-wheel vehicle traffic in Port Dover on Friday the 13th. Just fantastic. The mood, the environment, it's so cool. Live bands, they set up usually 3 stages. There's one down on the beach and a couple up in the town. So there's live music going. It goes late into the night, into Saturday morning. But as I say, just one of those things that started small and just became this thing you gotta do, you gotta go to. So we're flying down, again, unfortunately not taking a bike, but we're gonna fly down and head over to Port Dover. We've got a place rented over there, and try and do a couple episodes of Speed and Color, but just be there for the activities, the ambiance, and catch up with people, people we've been there with before and stuff like that. So Friday the 13th in Port Dover, Ontario, that's a real good one. The same weekend, the Kickstart show, which is hosted by Ill-Fated Customs. This will be the final Kickstart show. That is June 14 and 15 in Calgary. The Kickstart show is very cool. It is you apply to enter. It's limited entries. Last year, I think, was around 45 bikes. So limited entries. This year, it's being held in a location it was in years ago. I think it's the Christine Clausen Art Gallery. Anyway, there's art in there with the bikes. Very cool setting, really well done. Just a great environment, really cool the way Jen and Kenny put it together. It's a great show. It's extremely disappointing to find out that it is the final Kickstart show. I will say here, for what it's worth, thanks to Jen and Kenny for doing it for, I think it's 10 years, or maybe it's 11 or 12. The pandemic causes some issues there. But anyway, it's been a great show for years. Super cool format, really well attended. But at the same time, too, I totally get it. This is a huge undertaking, putting a show on like that. And these poor folks are trying to run a business and do a bunch of other stuff and have a family and all the rest of that. And as I say, disappointing. However, Jen, Kenny, you have done a great job for years. I want to say thank you, and I think I'm saying that on behalf of the whole custom motorcycle community in Calgary. Just a really good deal. We appreciate that you've been there, and I got to tell you, I have a lot of respect for the fact that you're saying this is it. It's done, it's run its course, and it's over. I think too many times people try and hang on to these things, and that a lot of the time that doesn't work out if you don't have that same initial passion and love for the event. It just doesn't seem to carry on well. So I would rather see the Kickstart show end and go away, and something else, not necessarily the same weekend, not the same format, but something else will come along and take its place, and that's fine. That's good. That's evolution. That keeps us moving forward. So all good. The other show that happens in June, and I don't know if we're going to make it there this year or not. We might try. Anyway, June 21st and 22nd, Born Free, California, Silverado, California. Karen and I have been there twice now. I got to take a bike. Actually, 2026, I'm hoping that I'll be able to take a bike. I got to tell you, driving out there to see the show, you see all the choppers, coming through the canyon and carving that road, and the highway's beautiful. The scenery is fantastic. The pre-parties, the whole thing. I mean, Born Free, and it's huge. And they have they have things there like the Wall of Death, and the Ives brothers are there putting on their show, and they have, invited builders, and that part of the show is fantastic. And the quality of bikes, and, the people, and the number of bikes that turn up, and you have grass passes so that you get in the show, and you're parked on the grass, and you're part of the show that way. But then you walk out, if you walk out to the parking lot at 2:00 in the afternoon, oh my goodness, the bikes that don't get into the show. There's bikes in the parking lot like you wouldn't believe. It is fantastic. One of my favorite shows for sure. Maybe my favorite show. That and Friday the 13th are a toss-up. But Born Free, California, if you haven't done it, you really need to. I would highly recommend getting a bike down there. As I say, we just love the area, the event, and everything so much. We go, but I have to get down there with a bike, and I think it probably needs to be the Sportster at this point, to have that down there and ride from wherever we're staying out to the event. That would be an experience. That would be cool. So that event is on, what did I say here? June 21st, 22nd. So June is just action-packed, two-wheel Sunday, Kickstart show, Friday the 13th, Born Free, California. Just an action-packed month, and lots and lots to do. And then the summer just takes off from there. I mean, you guys know how it is, you guys and gals. So that's where things are at. We're going to try and be at least a couple of those events. Yeah, it's going to be a good summer. I can feel it coming on. Okay, I want to update you on the MultiTool, and I want to do a follow-up on the Sportster. I am going to rearrange things here, get set up, and record a couple more segments. Before I go, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for watching Speed and Color, or listening, sorry. Thank you for listening. It is a podcast and what do we call this? A video podcast? Geez, I hate that term. Anyway, it's a YouTube channel and a podcast. Really appreciate you being here. We're on Instagram. If you could follow, that would be great. If you want to share any of the posts or anything like that, if you want me to hit you as a collaborator on posts so that they go onto your feed, we can work something out and do that. On YouTube, of course, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. By all means, leave a comment. Tell me what we're doing right. Tell me what we're doing wrong. Tell me what you love. Tell me what you hate. I'm good with all of it. Ask a question. I do respond, not always right away, but I do my best to respond to everything that comes in. Give us a thumbs up. Turn on the notifications. We got build stuff happening on Speed and Color, where we try and track some actual builds and do some more technical stuff, if you want to call it that. So there's build stuff, and of course the podcast. You can get it on any of the podcast platforms. Again, if you were to subscribe, that would be great. And where possible, if you want to leave us a comment, ask us a question, go ahead. Certainly don't seem to see much of that. YouTube seems to be the hot spot for that kind of stuff. But it's all good. We appreciate all of it. In the meantime, build safe, ride safe, be cool. I wanted to give you an update on the MultiTool Grinder. If you watched the last episode, I did quite a lengthy explanation on this. One of my favorite shop tools. I think if you watched my previous video, you can tell I like this tool. I'm a believer. And MultiTool, you need to know I'm a believer in your product. But in that video that I did, I mentioned that I wished I had built my stand so that this could pivot up and I could use what's the bottom side right now, but what would become the face of this to grind stuff. For doing those exhaust pipes, for doing a bunch of stuff, it would be really nice to work on this surface if it were standing straight up. And MultiTool watched the video, which thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time to do that. And they left me a message and said, our MultiTool has always been adjustable, and you've always been able to put it in that position. And I read the comment and I thought, holy smokes, Bruce, you dumb bastard, how did you miss that? I was really ashamed of myself there when I saw that. And I thought, how have I missed that all these years? So I wrote back and said, I'm really sorry. Can you point out in the instructions, or can you send me instructions for how you do that? And they said, well, there really are no instructions, but if you loosen the three nuts holding this adapter on, then you can rotate it. And I thought, wow, that's so simple. Why didn't I know that? So I came out and I cleaned it up and I thought, okay, I don't need the miter table on. I want more access to it and stuff. So I removed the miter table and got it down to the bare bones, if you will. And I got in here, and hopefully you can see this on the camera that I've got at the back. I got in here, and these three nuts that they're talking about are right here. And I loosened these off like I'm doing right now. Just bear with me for a second. They're kind of hard to get at. You're certainly not getting at them with a socket or anything like that. I want to be fair here. I'm doing this because I want to tell people honestly about the product and what's going on with it. As I said, I'm absolutely not knocking the product because I love it. but I think you should know how this really works. So you loosen those 3 nuts off, and I wish I could remember from when I put this together 20 years ago or more. There's a plate that adapts to your grinder, and then there's a plate that essentially holds all of this mechanism on, and I'm not even sure how the drive works because, it's got to be really lined up because the drive comes straight out. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. These 2 plates, and what these 3 screws do, or 3 bolts, is the plates seem to have a bevel cut on them, and they lock together, and I think that's probably what aligns it, is that bevel. So the 2 pieces, the bolts are going to pull them together and tighten them on that bevel to bring them into alignment. Not a bad design. Design works fine, but here's the problem, or here's the part of the challenge. So you loosen those off, you go to move this and you go, oh, what the heck? Well, what has happened, and sorry for anybody listening to the podcast, I was just trying to move this into the upright position, stand it up, and it will not rotate on this bracket at all. It's pretty much locked in position, even though the nuts have been loosened off. And I kind of thought this was going to happen again, so I brought the soft-faced hammer over here, and what I had to do previously, and what I'm going to do this time, is give it a wrap to loosen it up on that bevel, and then what you want to do is check and make sure all your nuts are still loose, because of course as you move those 2 pieces apart, it wants to tighten up the bolt and nut. So those are loose now, and okay, and now I can rotate this. So I'm rotating this up, and let's say that's about where I want it right there. And that's fine. So you just go back in here. Now, I guess the one thing that I want to do is I want to be pretty sure that I've got this square. And what I did find is that when you loosen it and rotate it like that, it tends to be slightly askew. And I know the nuts should pull it back into position. That's the way it's designed, I think. But you want to make sure you can kind of check it on the back side here to make sure the 2 pieces are flush. And that's getting pretty good there. I'm just going to get this 3rd one. Where is he? He's over there. Okay. So I've got all 3 of those tightened up again. My alignment is pretty good, and from what I can tell, if your alignment on that bracket isn't good, what's going to happen is it's going to put the tracking of the belt off a little bit. Now you do have the adjustment, which should bring it back in. There's another adjustment in the way, what would you call this? The way the spring tensioner is mounted in that plate, you could make another slight adjustment there for the tracking. But the tracking wasn't a problem when I did this. I moved it up, it worked fine. I've got it unplugged right now, of course, because I don't want this thing starting up while I got my fingers in here and stuff. So this is fine. I've moved it up, I've tightened it up. Is it convenient? Not really. You know, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not like flipping a lever, rotating the thing up and tightening the clamp or you know, whatever system you choose. But here's the thing that really got me is to change the belt, the spring tensioner, you push it back and it's supposed to lock. Well, what's happening now is it's not locking. And looking at the side here, there's a nifty little locking mechanism that uses gravity to lock the thing in position. So when it's flat, you push back on the wheel, and you know, I've seen people, and I do it sometimes, if you just pull the belt, it's really easy to get that to push back. But the problem is, when it's down flat, it's great because this little locking device falls into place. And then once you have your new belt on, you just push that lever, it unlocks, and away you go. If it's in this position, there's no gravity to lock that. Now, I could, with one hand, there we go, with one hand grab the belt and pull it and push the lock into place, which works fine. Now I could change my belt and I undo that and the tension comes back on. So it is doable in this position, but again, I wouldn't call it convenient. So, can you stand this up? Yes. Am I going to use it this way? I sure am. For me, knowing how this works now, I would put this in this position with a bunch of work to do my work, change belts if I have to, and when I'm done, I would probably put it back in the other position. If you do that a lot, how's the wear and tear going to be on these two brackets? I don't know. That bevel, it concerns me a little bit. I don't want to grease it up or anything to make it easy to slide, because then I might be causing another problem. So I want the friction to hold it tight, but it's a tough call. I guess what a guy has to do is just, when you loosen those nuts off, give it a couple whacks with a soft-faced hammer, loosen it up, and then rotate it into position. So yeah, I'm going to use it that way, and it's worth it for me. But as I say, and again, no criticism, no offense, because obviously it's really not designed to work this way, but it's absolutely not convenient. It's a bit of a job to make it work this way. If you're willing to do that, it's fine. That is my update on the MultiTool. Still one of the most awesome tools in my garage. Love it, but just want to be totally fair and make sure that you understand how this works, in case anybody ever gives you the suggestion, oh, well, stand it up or flip it over backwards or whatever. Ideally, what would I like to have here? Man, I would love to have another one of these mounted on this end of the bench grinder and have one in the vertical position all the time and the other in the horizontal position. Then I'd be a happy guy. We'll see. Maybe that'll happen down the road someday when I win the lottery or something. Anyway, that's that for now. Wanted to bring you up to speed. Let's move on to the next segment. One of the other things I wanted to do in this episode is kind of do a follow-up on the Sportster. Now, Harrison and I, last year, we did well over an hour on the Sportster. I don't know that it deserves or that I can figure out how to do another 45 minutes or an hour on it. It just doesn't need that much again. But I did want to follow up because I got some comments on it. And to anybody who commented, thank you so much. Regardless of what your comment was, thank you. I got some really constructive comments though, and I feel bad that I haven't gotten back sooner than this. But, a couple of the comments were, one guy said, well, it's really nice, but it's just another effing Sportster hardtail, right? Well, I get that, and I understand how we can look at things that way sometimes if we don't have the whole context, if we don't understand the whole story. And the story on this bike pretty much changed my life. I was going through a real tough time. I had fairly recently met Karen. Things were going real well for us, but divorce is a tough time. What can I say? Life is good, but that was a low spot for me in many ways. Certainly wasn't a low spot being with Karen. Anyway, I've told the story numerous times. I'm not going to tell it again now. But Karen bought me this bike in the state it was in then, and it was super cool, and it just made such a difference to me. And the one thing I remember telling me, when I said, you really shouldn't do something like this, and she said, I'm backing a winner. And I hope that over the years, maybe I've proven to her that she was right. Some days I don't know that, but you know what? We've done okay. We're comfortable. Life is really, really good. And this bike was part of the motivation, part of what drove me to keep going and to press on and to win in the end. And I think I did. So that was one comment. To me, it is not just another Sportster, obviously. To me, it's got so much significance, and having done the paint myself and all the work I did and the fabrication, and to bring it up to the detail and the bike that I really wanted it to be, but keeping so much of the originality, was a challenge, but it just, again, it gave me confidence. I was able to do something that I hadn't done in a long, long time, and now I have this thing that, I've said this before too, that sometimes we come across a bike that just fits us. It just works, and this bike is one of those bikes for me. I'm comfortable on this thing. I love it. I love ripping on it. I love cornering with it. I push it hard, and it just, I'm never worried on this bike. It just treats me right, and we have a pretty good time together. Another comment that I got, what did the one fellow say? Oh, the one guy said, looks nice, would like to see more than just the one side, or I think he said the left side. So I thought, while I had it on the dolly here, I'd spin it around a bit so I could show you the other side. And he asked for some close-ups and maybe a walk around. And I can maybe do some close-ups, and there's actually a couple photos I'll throw in here that I think are really neat, because a friend of mine was in Saskatchewan, and I don't know how Kyle met the guy. I don't know what happened, but anyway, Kyle ran into a guy who owned this bike years ago, and he happened to have some historical pictures of it with an awful set of handlebars on it, and you can tell it's this bike. There's certainly a lot of common stuff there, but it was nowhere near even as finished as it was when I got it, and as it is now. But like I say, a lot of stuff. When you look at those old pictures and you look at this bike, you go, "Wow, that's the same bike." So that's kind of cool, and I'm going to throw those in. But what I was going to say is, I'll get Karen to do some panning kind of stuff for me. And again, I've told this story, or I've mentioned this before, and I don't want to go on and on about it. But I was diagnosed a couple years ago with essential tremor. It's a crappy deal, but you know what? It's not a life stopper or anything like that. Essential tremor is just something that happens to some older people, and it makes us shake, and sometimes it affects the voice, and sometimes my head moves a little bit when I'm talking and doing things, and you've probably seen other people in the same position. The one thing that, one of the things that it has done is I can't take pictures worth of shit anymore, because I can't stay steady enough. It wasn't too bad a few years ago before it was diagnosed. It was in my left hand, and my right was still pretty stable, so I could take pictures with my right hand. Wasn't a big deal. Now it has progressed, and unfortunately both hands shake, so I can't even hold the camera steady anymore, because and when both hands start shaking and fighting each other, then it gets really bad. So anyway, panning shots and stuff like that are a little bit tough for me to do these days. But Karen's still pretty steady. She's blessed. She's doing okay. So I'll get Karen to take those shots. And we'll get that done for you. The other comment that I got, and this one is really recent, and it's the biggest part of why I'm doing this, because I felt so bad when I read the guy's comment, and I wanted to respond to him. You can see his comment on the YouTube channel. He said, "What about the frame?" And I wound up replying, and I said, "You got me at a loss. Was I supposed to get back to you with an answer to a question, or are you referring to something in the video?" He said, "Well, Harrison asks you about the frame in the video, and you go off on a tangent about something else," which I'm known to do, "and you never do answer the question about the frame." I went back and watched the video on the weekend, and he's absolutely right. Harrison asked me about the frame, and I talk about something totally different, and Harrison never asked me about the frame again, so we don't answer the question. So to answer that question, Harrison did talk about the neck on the bike here. But aside from that, the front half is factory Sportster frame. The back half is a hardtail kit. Now, I don't know how long ago this thing was hardtailed. It was done in Saskatchewan. I'm thinking it was done by the guy who gave Kyle these pictures that I have now. Don't know for sure. Don't know who did it. Don't know whose kit it is. I did not find any kind of stamping, name, serial number, nothing like that on it. So, I think it's pretty typical. TC Bros, maybe somebody else. I don't know for sure. But it is a fairly typical hardtail kit. The installation left a couple things to be desired. And Alfred always cautions me. He says, don't talk negative about stuff. Don't talk bad about stuff. And he's right. But a lot of stuff gets done by amateur builders or inexperienced builders or whatever. So in this case, what they had done, and kudos, they got the frame straight. There's no issue there. Everything is straight. Everything fits right. Other than that problem that I mentioned where the push rod would not come out past the mount for the speedometer because the mount was welded to the frame. And once you got the rocker cover off, which that was a challenge all on its own, like that was a serious challenge. I did wind up leaving a mark on the rocker cover that I had to polish off, and it came clean and everything. And of course, if there had been decent paint on the frame, it would have scratched the heck out of it. It scratched the paint that was there, but I wasn't very worried about it. So I've put on the bottom of the backbone where the rocker cover has to come out, I've ground a nice little recess, and it's a 1/16 of an inch. It's not a big deal at all, but it just gives it that clearance to be able to sneak that rocker cover out. Once you had the rocker cover off, the push rod wouldn't come out because the push rod would hit the mount for the speedometer, and there was nowhere to go with it. So the only way to get that push rod out was to take the engine out, and then you could get the push rod out. So to change that, I moved the mount for the speedometer onto the seat hinge. So now you take the seat assembly off and the push rods will come out. There's nothing to interfere. So that works out better. And actually, I'm not sure you'd even have to take the seat mount off because now that tab is way up higher. You could probably sneak the push rod out. I haven't done that. I haven't checked to see if that works, but I'm thinking there might be enough clearance. So the frame, what they did that was odd is, let me see, because I did a video on the frame back a long time ago. I had a guy criticize me and said, that's not the way you do it, and I think he misunderstood what I was saying. Anyway, between the two of us, I got mad and said, well, you know what, if you're that convinced about that, I'll just take the video down. And I deleted the video, and that solved the problem. He had nothing to say after that. But in this case, what they did is they took the engine out, cut the frame where they were supposed to and everything, fitted the frame up, and I don't know, I guess they probably tacked it in place or whatever. Anyway, they fitted the frame up and then put the engine back in like you're supposed to make sure that all the mounts lined up, everything lined up, ties it all together, good. So they put the engine in, bolted it all together, frame was good, alignment was good, everything was square. So they welded around the top of the backbone, and they welded the two bottom rails underneath, but never bothered to take the engine out to finish the welding. Now, no big deal. This engine bolted into all the mounting points. Essentially, it's a structural member. I mean, you got the whole engine is tied into all the parts of the frame, and the frame is welded in a couple places. There was never a problem with this bike. There were no cracks in the welds. There was nothing letting go. There was no issue other than when I took it apart. Obviously, I thought, well, you know what? A guy should probably finish those welds. So now it is welded around the top of the bottom tubes and the underside of the backbone. So it's fully welded. It's all good. And then, of course, I shaved as much off of the frame as I could, ground a lot of stuff down, ground down the factory welds and everything, and did a bunch of frame molding. And it's done with filler. It's nothing fancy. I didn't steel weld everything and file it or grind it. It's filler, but you know what? The frame is smooth. Everything looks good. Just my way of doing things. Hardtail kits are usually so nicely done. The welds are so good. They're like art. And I love them just the way they are. And I would paint them just the way they are if the whole frame looked like that. But unfortunately, factory welds, and I'm going to say it, and you can disagree with me if you want. Japanese are the worst. Oh my goodness, they do terrible welding. Functional? Yeah. Cosmetically? No, not good. Not good at all. So anyway, Harley, better than Japanese welding. Still, cosmetically, the look of a Harley factory weld with a beautiful TIG weld from somebody who does hardtail kits, not so much. I'm not a fan. So the only option is to smooth everything and make it look the same in my world. So that's what I did. That's pretty much it about the frame. With that side showing, you can see the points cover that Harrison was mentioning, the modification for the chain, the chrome primary, beautiful Paco exhaust. Really love the angles and everything on the exhaust. And good old Tim the fabricator, man, he would not accept anything other than those two pipes being absolutely parallel. So Tim and I worked on that, and that worked out really, really well. Fuel shutoff valves, some racing AN shit, looks good, works really, really well. What I did in the tank is I have one of these on each side for, although I'm not a symmetry guy, it does make it symmetrical, which is kind of cool in this case. All I did was on the inside of the tank, on the AN fitting that goes into the tank bung, I put an extension on the one side, and that's my primary side. So it runs out of gas when it gets to the top of the tube. On the other side, there is no tube. It's flush down at the bottom. So I've got, it wouldn't even be a quart, I don't imagine, but there is a little reserve there to hopefully get me to a gas station if I'm ever caught in that position. Other than that, I mean, the chrome rear sprocket was on the bike, the chrome chain. It's just kind of cool the way it's all put together. The Roland Sands pegs, they fold up. That's nice. We got some pike nuts on the pegs there to hold them in place. I don't think there's much else to tell you about this other than it's just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. A great bike, and I was one of those guys at one time I thought, oh, Sportster, whatever, your girlfriend's bike, Not now. This thing is just a blast. Real men ride Sportsters. It's just a lot of fun, and I am absolutely blessed, privileged, all that stuff to have this thing, and this one is going to be around for a long time. Don't know who's getting it when I die, but somebody will get it. I'll leave it to somebody. That's the update on the Sportster. Oh, and I will say, somebody else on a comment mentioned that they would like to hear it running and see it moving, have some video of it. So what I'm going to do, we've got a show coming up here that I'll mention in another segment on this show, Two Wheel Sunday. I'll be riding it to Two Wheel Sunday, so I think I'll get Karen to do some video, see if somebody can help her out. We'll get some video of it going down the road, having a little fun with it, and I will add that into my Two Wheel Sunday episode, because I think I'll do a show based on Two Wheel Sunday there. So anyway, I will get to that. It's pouring rain outside right now, and it's supposed to pour rain for the next 8 days. So I just don't think there's going to be an opportunity to do that.